Hello, my name is Hunter Rangel. I'm a senior business major at the University of Tulsa, and I will be graduating this May. I also was a student athlete at the University of Tulsa. I was fortunate enough to play football for TU for 4 years. Throughout my 4 years as a football player, I spent a lot of time with the TU coaching staff and also with my teammates. I was able to continue playing the sport that I love for 4 years, and I was also allowed to make some lifelong friendships while doing it. Not to mention, I also was able to get an awesome degree that will help me in my professional life for years. I will forever be prideful that I was an athlete at the University of Tulsa. For the rest of my life, I'll root for Tulsa's football team and all their other sports teams, and I will also push my future kids to apply and hopefully attend Tulsa as well. With all that being said, I never would have gotten the opportunity to play football for Tulsa, or earn a degree at Tulsa for that matter, if it was not for the recruitment process that I went through at the end of my high school football career. So today I will be explaining the recruitment process that I went through and how the recruitment process that so many other college athletes go through, and how that relates to some of the topics that we've discussed in this human resources management class. While the recruitment process that I went through has many connections to a lot of the different topics that we have discussed in class, I will specifically be talking about the recruitment chapter that we went through and spent some time going over back in January. As I mentioned before, I came to the University of Tulsa back in 2019 during the summer after my senior year of high school to start working out with the team and getting ready for my freshman season. Saying this now does not really faze me too much, just because I've been living in Tulsa, Oklahoma for 4 years now, and I've been going to school here for 4 years. I'm very familiar with the city and also the state, but if I were to go back just 4 short years ago, talking about Tulsa, especially the way that I'm talking about it now, would be very confusing for me. For starters, I didn't even know about this school or the city at all throughout my whole life. I don't have any family here. I have no ties to Tulsa or the state of Oklahoma for that matter. Being from Houston, Texas, any conversation around Tulsa, Oklahoma was really non-existent. Looking back now, I can credit my familiarity and my 4 years of living in Tulsa, Oklahoma to the recruiting process that took place here with Tulsa's coaching staff and also in Houston whenever they came to visit me. If it was not for the great job done by Tulsa's recruitment staff, I probably still would have never been to Oklahoma, much less have lived, gone to school, played football here for 4 years, and met a lot of great people. As we have discussed in class, recruitment is a huge part of the human resources management and the overall success of a company or business. It plays a huge part. This is a huge part of college football as well. Being through the recruitment process myself and also getting to observe the Tulsa coaches partake in recruiting has really allowed me to understand how important it is. Going back to football in high school, I always knew that I wanted to continue to play in college, but I was not too sure about really how the whole process went and how I would get there. But as my career went on, saying in my sophomore, junior years when it really started, I really started to get recruited from schools all over the country. I was getting messages on Twitter, I was getting mail from a bunch of different schools, and I was even getting pulled out of class at times during my senior and junior year for coaches to come and speak with me who had interest in recruiting me to their school. I even would have coaches introducing themselves to my parents in the stands during some of our games. I can think back on first round, my senior year, I had this guy from a school in Mississippi, coach. He came and sat with my parents during the whole game, and I thought that was really cool. So in the off-season, coaches from different schools around the country, it wasn't just during season, it was also off-season. They'd fly from all around the country into Houston just to introduce themselves to me or just to watch me work out in the weight room. And this began 2 years before I was even able to graduate high school. This just started sophomore year. What these coaches were doing was they were putting themselves, their football program, and their school on my radar. This is a lot like how employers go through the process of identifying and attracting people who they believe have the potential to be qualified applicants for roles within their company. Recruiters for companies obviously go about their recruiting practices a bit differently than college football coaches do. Instead, they might go to universities and hand out pamphlets to people walking around campus. Um, they might go to different career fairs at different universities, or they might post updates about job openings on LinkedIn or other websites like that. This all falls under the first stage of the recruitment process, which is generating potential applicants. I believe that the first stage of the recruitment process is probably the most important one. It is extremely important that people know about your company. I mean, it would be pretty impossible for someone to apply for your company if they're not even familiar with the company in the first place. Um, Much like I was not familiar with the University of Tulsa, by going through all the different things that I just mentioned, Tulsa was able to first get their program on my radar and eventually have me signed to come and play for them for 4 years. So next, I will talk about how Tulsa and other schools that have gotten themselves back in high school, got themselves on my radar, were able to keep me interested in attending their university. Tulsa was able to successfully complete stage one of the recruitment process by generating some interest from me. But how did they keep me around after that first initial step? This was also a big part of why I chose to come to Tulsa. Because during recruitment, like I mentioned before, it can be chaotic. You have coaches from all over the place coming and visiting you and calling you. Sometimes a coach would pull me out of class, and if he wasn't wearing his team's or his school's logo on his shirt, it would take me a minute to remember this guy's face and from which school he was coming to. I can only imagine some of the other college athletes who were much bigger recruits than I was. I even had some friends who were getting mail every day, and it was filling up their mailbox, and their parents were complaining, which was a good problem to have. Don't get me wrong, but it was really competitive for some of these recruitment staffs, and it was very important that they made sure they were maintaining your interest. This stage of college football recruitment is almost exactly similar to stage two of recruitment in the professional world. Stage two is maintaining applicant interest. Again, football and work are very different, but the recruitment process is not much different at all. Companies all choose to do different specific things to keep applicants interested, but they all do so because it is vitally important to the future success of their company to keep these applicants around. Companies try to keep their applicants engaged in several ways. Some of those tactics are making sure that the right candidates can easily find you, replying to candidates as soon as possible, giving their applicants things to research, creating job descriptions that are easy to understand, being curious about their candidates' recruiting journey, or just plain describing different parts about their recruitment strategies. The main thing that sticks out to me out of the list that I just talked about is when companies make sure that they are communicating in a timely manner. If, for example, a coach from a school that was recruiting me back in high school stopped responding quickly, or even if they stopped replying at all, it would give me the impression that they were not interested in me. And for me, it meant that I should probably place my interest and my time somewhere else. So now on to the last recruitment stage, and for college football players, this was the fun part. The last stage was sealing the deal. This is when college athletes were able to receive an offer letter from a university and then sign their commitment to that school. After the long and tiring process of recruitment, signing the letter of intent to Tulsa was very rewarding for me. Tulsa was able to successfully complete the first two steps of the recruitment process with me, and now by signing my letter of intent to attend the University of Tulsa and play football there, they were able to successfully complete the third and final step. And after that third and final step, the rest is history. In human resource management, the final step of the recruitment process is called securing offer acceptance. And from a human resources management perspective, this stage is very important, and it is very important that in this stage, it's done smoothly and professionally. Some things that we discussed in class about this securing stage of the recruitment process are how delays in communication can be detrimental, how transparency retains retention, and how you do not want this final step to overlap with the end of your hiring process. For employers, this step of this process is usually not complete until some negotiating is done. The negotiating tactics and efficiency must be on point in order to make sure that the company and the job candidate are both happy with the end result. So in conclusion, all the different things that I discussed about my high school to college football recruitment process It's all very similar to the recruitment process that goes on with employers and job candidates. It is important to the success of the HR department and the overall success of a business that the 3 steps of the recruitment process are done effectively. Thank you.